Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Bryant, talking to you about you and your business. So I'd have my friend David Power back on. You know him with J.D. Power, really the man, the legend, the one who really revolutionized the relationship between the consumer and businesses and really created a level of accountability we had never seen before, and I think redefined expectations in the consumer experience going forward. And he's been on the program before. You know him so well, but you know him outside of this interview because any organizations that's received a J.D. Power ranking wants to display it as a positive one. And so it's a phenomenal story. And he has a book that you can learn more about at the DavePowerBook.com. And David, glad to have you on the program again. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Tell us about your story before we get into the book again. Kind of remind people about how Power, which is the name of the book, came into being.
Well, it was something that I worked on for about 3 or 4 years, and finally came out with it early this year, and I'm really delighted with the results because we're doing this book to make it readable by all the people out in the country that have answered our questionnaires over the years, millions of people, and we wanted them to have an understanding of how the company got started back in 1968 and how we began to flourish in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. And when do you think individuals started seeing those commercials? I think the first one I saw was probably for a Chrysler product in the early 80s. Is that probably right?
Yes, that's when it... But we actually had coverage in 1972, 73, on a survey that we had done on the first buyers of the Mazda rotary engine, which had just taken off and was growing very fast. It was the fastest introduction of any import car manufacturer at the time. And we found that they were going to have some major problems as the customers got more mileage on the vehicles because the O-ring problem, I didn't even know what it was, but the people wrote in on our surveys, and we released the information, and we were on the front page of the Wall Street Journal the next day, and that went throughout the world. And that gave our first high recognition to a broad range of people in the automobile industry.
And that was what year?
1972.
You're well known for, particularly in the automobile industry. Talk a little bit about other areas that you've put your mark.
Well, we have done work in a wide variety. Actually, companies would come to us and say, we'd like to get an award. We said, well, we have to interview everyone in your industry and give a rating that would show that you are doing outstanding performance. And that was a breakthrough for us when we started to find a lot of companies. First of all, tire manufacturers, and then it really broadened out into computers and banking, a wide variety of industries.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating to see how great the reach is. Tell us a little bit about the book, Power.
Well, the book shows what we went through. I've been in the automobile industry for over 50 years, and I started out in Detroit with Ford Motor Company, and just kept moving on because I didn't feel that they were doing the things that I thought were very important, and that was listening to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a pretty big chasm between the consumer and the company, really for decades. And so until I would say you gave the industries a clue, don't you think?
Oh yes, it was. It took a long time. The automobile industry was very strong after World War II, and that was a big danger, as indicated by some of the people in the federal government. And they weren't listening to the customers. They knew how to build cars and sell them. And that's the situation that had gone on from the 1940s into the 1980s. And it began to change. When the consumers had more information, they demanded better quality. And that's when our survey was instrumental in changing the outlook.
David Power is our guest. You know him as J.D. Power and the great work that he has done to really strengthen the relationship between the consumer and business. Learn more about his book. The DavidPowerBook.com. DavidPowerBook.com. David, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here can be found over there at GuestDavidReview.com, and this is The Price of Business.